That's a very good question for everybody to know. And actually, when you were reading that article a little bit earlier, it was talking a little bit about the differences there, what the changes that we've made. The majority of I think the majority of trade exchanges across the country, for the last 20 years, they all profess themselves as being barter exchanges. And so right away you get a little confused. You're thinking, oh, this is where I trade my products and services, and so it's really confusing. And another thing that they say is no cash changes hands. And so that's misleading too. You know, no cash changes hands. Well, if we go back to the article, it said that these credits are a currency. And what is cash? It's a currency. See? So the problem is, I think the other exchanges, for the most part, think they're bartering, and they think, well, no cash is changing hands. Why? Because when I come and buy something, I'm giving you credits, and I'm giving you cash, right? So no cash changed hands. Let's say if I just gave you all credits as an example. No cash changed hands because they think cash is cash, check, credit cards, or whatever. But what's confusing is the cash doesn't change hands at the time of the transaction. And that will also help you understand that cash does change hands. Let's say we come in and we go to a restaurant, as an example. We sit there and we're able to trade out $100 at that restaurant. No cash changed hands. We just give them our credits for there, right? And that's where the confusion comes in. But in reality, the restaurant owner has to go pay for that food, right? And is he the buyer or the seller? He's the seller. So to make a long story short, all the other exchanges, since they don't think the cash isn't changing hands, basically the sellers are putting up the money. Now think about ICRE. What I'm saying, if you want to go to the restaurant, give them the 30% variable cost, or greater depending on the restaurant, or less than some others. So in essence, I say give them their cash, so the buyer is actually putting up the cash. Now stop and think about it. If someone's got to put up the money, should it be the buyer or the seller? Why should the seller pay you to come and save money at his place? Someone's got to pay. So the other exchanges, they don't see it. They do not think that cash is changing hands, so they don't see that the seller is putting up the cash. That's the only thing I can think of. And so I wrote an article, and it's called "So You Tried Barter and It Didn't Work." And you'll get a copy of that article not only on the phone in the presentation, the phone section over here, but you'll get it also in the prospect in the selling section. Because you're going to have to deal with that. You're going to go out there and run into things, and you say, "Oh, I didn't know that." And that's what I'm covering these things for you. So you tried barter and it didn't work. Well, none of these exchanges are actually in the barter business. They're in the trading business, and they call themselves trade exchange. And because they're taking credits, which we all know is currency, so therefore cash doesn't change hands, but currency do. So that's the difference between my exchange and another exchange, or any other exchanges, that I believe the seller should put up the money, and everybody else thinks I believe the buyer should put up the money, and everybody else thinks the seller. Does that make sense? Okay. Okay, the next thing on the list, we've explained the fees. We can go back to the directory. It says keep transaction slips and statement for reconciliation. In other words, keep track of your purchases and sales, because these credits are like cash. You know, they're reported as income to you, and also your expenses are, we'll talk about that a little bit later, about how that's handled, but that is considered deductible as any other cash expense. The next thing is, we were talking about cost and fees, and what I wanted to do is I wrote a little article letting our customers know that we'll actually trade with them too. And I wish more people would take advantage of it. So I'm going to have Walt read this information. So then we'll take a look at it and see. I might explain a couple things related to it, but we're going to be talking about all the fees, the membership fee, transaction fee, and service charge, how some of our members can actually pay those. And there's another way of doing it we'll be talking a little bit later, but why don't we go ahead and get started with that. Are you ready, Walt?
Ready to go. Save 10% on your ICRE cash fees. Make sure your current bill is postmarked by the 10th of this month. Please call the office if this is not possible. Please disregard if payment has been sent. Thanks, Al. P.S. To avoid this message in the future, have your billing placed on a credit card or auto bill, and also receive a 10% discount on future current fees due. PSS, how would you like to pay any remaining cash membership fees, future transaction fees, or service fees without having to spend cash? If so, read on. Do you have customers who are slow to pay, hard to collect from because of cash flow problems? These customers could be going to your competition to avoid catching up on their account with you. When you're trying to close a sale, do you have prospects that tell you they are short on cash required to make the purchase? Do you lose more business than you care to lose to your competition? ICRE can help you. The answer is the same to all of the above. Anytime cash flow or competition is a problem, agree to take some of your profit in barter. Try to get some gift certificates from the buyer's products or services. Example, if a restaurant or any other business owes you money or you're trying to sell them your products or services, try agreeing to make some gift certificates, $25, $50, or $100 increments. This will reduce the price objection and eliminate the competition. Give the gift certificates to ICRE to sell. When ICRE sells these gift certificates for part cash, part credit dollars, we will apply the credits to your account and use the cash to pay cash fees in advance. This concept is not intended to be used on past due accounts.
Well, thanks for reading that. That was done well. It brought the point. This is what I email out to people, and you would think everybody run out and start trying to pay their fees this way. You notice it says we don't do it on past accounts. Like if you owe me $100, I don't want you running out and doing this because I feel like I'm working twice. But if you want to pay them in advance, this is also known as Concept 7, and we'll cover Concept 7 in a little bit. Of the 8 concepts, this is one of the concepts. But as I mentioned earlier, I said, how do I make more money? And give you an example. Let's say that you owe me $100. Okay, if you write me a check, I make $100. I like it, But had you been thinking ahead of time and quit discounting your product or missing out on sales because people you didn't want what they have, if you had thought about this concept and the last sale you lost, you could have said to them, hey, I'll take $300. You're trying to sell them something for $1,000 and they're $300 short, so you take a $300 worth of their product or services in the form of gift certificates. Well, you bring them to me, I sell them. Let's say I can only get 30% cash. 30% cash, so that's 100 cash, 200 credits. So when I sell it, I put the 100 cash on your account, so at the end of the month when you get that bill for $100, I've already got paid. Now, why am I so excited? Well, the $200 that the person spent credits on, I get that 12% there. So 12% of 200 is how much? $24. So I make 25% more money if you would just quit sending me the money. Now, isn't that interesting how you can tell your clients to do that? But see, everybody should be doing that. I have a saying to a lot of people, and this would help you as future salespeople, very important. A lot of people say, well, we might not be able to get that guy business. Maybe he's not in demand. They're not in demand or whatever. But I say the majority of business that you will get will come from people who are not members. Now, we'll talk about salesmanship and talking about how we sell this, but that's very important to know. Because the deal here is not really getting customers, it's saving money. And you can save money whether we send you customers or not. So we'll get into that a little bit more also. So that's kind of interesting how we actually make money by you not paying me, isn't that? So Rib will probably run right out and want to do that. I've got to quit shuffling. And just to reiterate Concept 7, eliminate the price objection. I said something earlier about there's only 2 reasons why people do not buy from you. One is they do not have the money, and the other is they're going to shop you and buy it from you. If you can eliminate the competition and the price objection, are you not a better salesperson? So a lot of you might not realize this right now, but the difference between me and the best salesperson you've ever met, it doesn't matter whether you're selling siding or pools or whatever you're selling, is that I know I'm going to make the sale. I'm going to teach you how I know that I'm going to make the sale. You want a business in my trade exchange, you're not going to be losing business to your competition. I'm going to show you how you'll know. I know I'm going to make that sale. because there's not going to be a price objection, because I'm willing to take product or services to make up that difference. And you know, that is what makes the person buy from you faster, because your competitor is not going to take that product or service. Very powerful. So that's really exciting. That's one of the most exciting things when we talk about it, what ICRE is all about. We're actually transforming these business owners into super salespeople. So that's why that was very important. I'm glad we got that out. Now, the next thing, just to mention, is similar to that, is the membership. One of the things that I do is I offer my clients, and I'm a salesperson, so when I go out to sell, I'll go to someone like Ed and say, Ed, you know, you owe me $1,000 to become a member. Now, keep in mind, we charge upwards of $10,000 to teach people this program. I've sold at least 2, okay? If you have over 40 employees, you pay us $10,000 to teach you the same thing we're charging somebody else $1,000 because they're a small company. So what I do is I offer out to people I sell, I say to them, listen, I tell you what, if you want to lower that membership fee, and I hand them this list we're going to be looking at next, I say, here's this list. Anybody you refer to me on that list that I sign up, I will knock $100 off your membership. So I would rather give up, and I split that with you. You know, if I'm paying you part of that commission, then I'm paying at least half of that cost myself. I'm giving up my part too. So ask yourself, if you were going to make a $500 commission as an example, would you rather make $500 or get 5 sales? I'd rather have the 5 sales. Now, keep in mind, not everybody will take you up on this, but that's just a great way. So if I came to you, Walt, and I sold you as a business owner, and I said to you, give me $1,000 or 10 people who would want to join this exchange, here's a list. Don't you think you'd want to find 10 people? Mm-hmm. There you go. So I end up with $10,000 in new business instead of $1,000 membership fee. That's cool. Okay, the next section, as you see, we're going to be talking about here is how to get more credits. And the reason I brought, if you turn it over for a second, it says how to get more credits, how to get and spend more credits, and how to spend more credits, okay? So that pretty much covers everything. And so all this stuff that we're going to be doing is that we have clients that they either have trouble getting credits or they have trouble spending credits. Does that make sense, Paul?
Yes.
You know, I want more credits. I'm not spending because I want more credits, or I can't spend my credits. So sometimes people have credits and are having trouble getting them and spending them. So that's why I've got it broken down into 3 sections. So the first thing, concept 1. Okay, now we're going to go to concept 1, and I'll read them since they're fairly short, and I'll try to explain them to you. Let me get over here and I just remembered something. I'll go back and explain this. I was talking about referrals. I wanted you to go to that page where it says referrals. And what I picked here was the shot of the internet is what that is. And that's what you see in the internet. It just says, here's what we want. Then you put in the name and the company name and stuff like that. So you can just put in your referrals right there. And on the back, I wrote this so you would know what to say and what not to say when you're talking to someone. Like if I say, Walt, when you refer your friends, read this before you refer them. So, like, you don't go down there and say, I joined this barter club, because you know what it is, but they don't know what you mean by that, and they think, I don't want someone giving me refrigerators for what I sell. I need cash. So be careful the words that you use, because this is what's killing the country when it comes to this organization, not this organization, but this concept, as people just so misunderstand it, because somebody says, this guy wants to join. I go over and he says, and he starts talking about bartering and all this other stuff. And I said, wait a second, obviously you didn't explain to him. So better off just not saying anything until you'll understand it. So that's what this is about, referrals. This is one of the ways is, let's say you go on the internet and you get in plumbers and you say, that one's doing 30, that one's doing 30, that one's doing 30% savings on credits. Then if you're a plumber, if you went to 40, who do you think you're going to call first? So that is a great way. Just change your percentage. That'll help you a little bit. Another thing is you can add listings. I can say, well, how are you listed other than plumbing? Would you be under, like Ed, would you like be under parties? Instead of a bowling alley, would you also like to be under parties, you see? And try to find other listings So when people are going in there looking in the listings under bakeries, they see bowling alley, so they, so listings would be another one. Email special office, and I don't know why more people, my customers, don't do this. Just, what you're trying to sell to your clients. Why can't you just email me something on it saying, hey, this is what I got today. Email it to me, and I just simply email it out to all of our customers plus maybe a couple hundred more people. You get several hundred people looking at your advertising for free just by simply emailing me your ad. That's another way. And another thing you can do is you can sell miscellaneous items. A little earlier we were talking about those broker faxes and newsletters. Well, I started saying to you, do you have things like you can't just say, what do you have in your garage? What do you have? What do you have that you don't need? You got to put things in mind. Like, do you have any cars that you're not using anymore? Any lake lots, properties, jewelry, anything like a riding lawnmower? So the brain gets the idea you're talking about miscellaneous items. Things you're not really using, do you have anything like that, Walt? Can you think of anything?
Yeah.
Okay. So, by giving you suggestions, and that's why as a salesperson, if you give them suggestions, then they'll come up with some stuff. Okay. We list that up. So you might say, well, I got a lake lot I don't need anymore. And so we sell the lake lot for part cash, part credit. Now you've got cash and credits. And can you see how a lake lot would sell quicker at part cash, part trade than it would be for all cash, where everybody else is out there trying to, Paul's saying, I got lake lots, I got to get. A lot of people have lake lots. Okay, so that actually is simple as, so when someone has trouble getting more credits, those are 4 things that I do to help them get more credits. So in the future, when you have a client that says, hey, I'm having trouble getting credits, you just pull this out and say, oh, did you try this? Did you try that? And we're going to talk about more too. Now, the next thing is how to get and spend more credit. So these things will not only help you to get and spend, and then we'll be talking about how to spend credits. Okay? You'll notice there's 8 concepts, and what I can tell you about the 8 concepts is they're pretty powerful stuff. I mean, each one of them is almost a heart stopper when you really look at the power of this. And by the way, they're in order. 1 comes before 2. And the only redundant concept is 8. It's been mentioned once before, but it's so important that I made it all by itself. It's very important. So these 8 concepts, we're going to go over those concepts. Remember we covered concept 7, and then I'll come to it shortly. These concepts are the backbone of what ICRE is all about, and that is teaching customers how to make use of the exchange. So they just don't, we don't want them to think it's just some place they come to get business and to save money. This is a tool that you can actually take and use yourself to make it happen. Instead of having your banker loan you money, you can go out there and create the money yourself. So the first concept that we're going to talk about is concept 1. This particular concept, it's got 2 questions. If you look at these questions, it look like they're the same question. So let's look at it. Why should credit dollars be purchased at a substantial discount before you spend cash? That's one question. The other one is, why should you spend credit dollars before you spend cash, even if you do not have credit dollars in your account? They look similar, don't they? So you might have to read the question, but let me try to explain to them. The reason why I put it that way is I think a lot of times if you know your checking account, if you look in your checking account and you're overdrawn, do you go out and look for ways to spend money? No, right? So I'm thinking if I can get you to buy some credits in advance, like right now we're selling them for like 50 cents on the dollar, even though they can be spent like $1. It's a supply and demand thing. So what I'm thinking is that if you bought 1,000 credits for $500, or if you bought 200 credits for $100, then they're laying there, then you'll think about spending them. And that's why I put that question like that. I think you should not wait until you need credits. You could sit down and think about how many credits could I spend in a month? If I had credits, how many could I spend? Well, if you could spend 500, why don't you buy for 250, get your 500 credits, and then go out and start spending them and get your hair cut, glasses done, business thing, get printing, all kinds of things. And that's why we're saying have the credits in your account. Because if you wait until you need them to start looking for them, there's probably a lot of opportunities that you've missed. Does that make sense? I hope that does. And the other one, the answer to that question, why should you spend credits before you spend cash, even if you didn't have credits in your account? That's to tell you that if you haven't gotten around to buying the credits, you can always call me up and say, hey, my car broke down, the engine's shot, I got to go buy another car, and the guy on the exchange said he'll take $3,000 as a partial payment on this new car, or this used car that I have, or whatever. Then I'll sit down and say, okay, well, we could sell the credits to you, or we could create a line of credit for you, or because if you had something I felt was in higher demand, I could say, well, instead of selling you those credits at 50 cents on the dollar, Ed, why don't you start trading at 100 cents? And I'll give you 6 months to trade at 100% to make it up. Can you see how they would rather trade at 100% and put the 50% cash in that way of acquiring the credits rather than just buying the credits? You buy the credits, you've taken care of it, but why not have customer exposure? See, so that's what we look for. And so that's concept one. So I recently wrote a little article about that, because that is concept number one, and that is so important, the concept number one. So I'm going to read this to you. The first thing I teach at my seminars is spend credits on things you were spending cash for. I didn't say just go buy stuff. What are you paying cash for? Start spending credits. Like Walt, you could say, you might figure out that you could spend 1,000 credits within the next couple of months. Okay? So if you could do that and you came to me and you used the credits, then you would end up saving $500. So that's why this is so darn important, is start spending credits. But don't just buy things you don't need, because you aren't going to free up any cash if you buy stuff you don't need, per se. Yes, this means to spend the credits even if you have to borrow or buy them. Okay, why? Because your company retains cash flow when it spends credits, instead of cash on goods and services it needs. Okay, so this is just the opposite of what happens in the real world out there. When you go buy things, it depletes your operating cash. Do you get extra business? When you buy things, do you just automatically get customers? No. So this is the whole world, and it fails miserably. 90% of all the businesses in this country go out of business in less than 5 years, statistically. Why? Because they deplete their cash flow, and they go beat the bushes for business. Now, credits are just the opposite of cash. Whenever you spend credits, you free up cash. So buying things allows you to have more cash flow. But not only that, it also pushes customers through the door. The more credits you spend, so if you're a business owner and you're spending these credits, then you're actually freeing up cash flow. And then, instead of you having to go beat the bushes, the people on the exchange can come to you. So this is what we're trying to teach you and everybody out there, is to hold on to your money and have the customers come to you. Don't you think you could be more successful with that idea? Even personally, personal purchases, business expenses. Personal purchases are a business expense when it's deducted as an income to you. It's tax deductible because it's income to you. The economic benefit occurs when you spend credits, not getting credits, such as a cash transaction. If you cannot spend credits before you get them, what makes you think you can spend them after you get them? Every people join the exchange waiting so they can get some credits. I said, well, hey, go spend them now. You can always get the credits even if you have to buy them. You can set up an interest-free line of credit before you need the credits. Talk to your broker about this. You can usually purchase credits at a discount up to 50% off. It's easier to get more new business if you owe us credits. Why? Change your trade percentage. You don't have to collect the cash because you've spent the credits and freed up the cash. Hold it to offset the variable cost. This is because you have freed up the cash that allows you to trade at a higher percentage. This allows you to be more competitive and your trade percentage and those who have not figured this out. See, other people are sitting around charging you cash because they need cash to pay for their product because they are not spending. If they would just spend first, then you could sell it. You might have something you want to sell for $400, half cash, half trade, but because you spent the $400 and freed up the 400 credits and freed up the 400 cash, you could make it available at 100%. You can see it could go faster. Okay, so this is so important. I tell people, out of the 8 concepts, if you would just learn this, if you would just learn to spend credits, if you just go away with just this idea that you can buy things and free up, that I've done my job in the first seminar. If you could just take that with you, that's the only thing you learn. That's why that's so important. It says, why should you as a member attend these network meetings? And we'll just take a couple of them because you want to read them all and take a look at them. But it's your obligation as a member. We have one network meeting per week. What happens at network meetings? What happens at the seminars? This will help you understand what's going on, and then you can explain it to the people and get them at the meetings. The people who attend these meetings do 10 times better than the ones that do not participate. 10 times. So now I also wrote an article on that, so I will dig that up here shortly. Yeah, I call it Lesson 2. I'm going to read this because that will kind of explain all this other stuff to you. I might have somebody else read this because I'm getting tired of hearing my own self-talk. So I might have Ed read this for me.
The second most important thing in learning on how to use ICRE is network meeting attendance. Members who attend these meetings seem to do 10 times better. We have weekly network meetings, and there are usually 15 to 20 members in attendance. These meetings are held at different locations, north, south, east, and west, usually at 12:30 p.m. or 6:30 p.m. What goes on at these meetings? Each member has 1 to 2 minutes to speak about their business. In other words, each member is the guest speaker. We have over 100 stacks of business cards and brochures for you to look through to help you find what you need. You can learn to convert your credit dollars into cash, dollar for dollar, by cash converting. Cash converting defined. When you refer cash business to an ICRE member, our member will give you a portion of the cash they receive from the sale in exchange for your credit dollars, dollar for dollar, anywhere from 10% to 100% of the sale. An example, recently one of our clients, a chiropractor, referred one of his clients to one of our car dealer members. When that referral bought an automobile, the chiropractor was paid $1,800 cash for $1,800 of his credit dollars. You also can do this with most any of our clients. It helps for you to attend these networking meetings because everyone at that meeting becomes a salesperson for you. I can't believe any business owner would miss these meetings if they knew how much business, cash and credit, they are actually missing. One night a month for 1.5 hours is all we ask.